billions of dollars just vanished. You see founders in handcuffs on the news or on a podcast explaining themselves. So why are all the customers still waiting in line? Everyone assumes the same story. Hack, fraud, somebody broke in. What if a lot of them didn't have to? But just let me explain. Okay, so there are 3 different doors: exchanges, token launches, and influencers. And I'll show you how each of them work. To be clear, not every project is a scam. Some exchanges segregate assets, some tokens actually do something useful, some solve problems or provide utility. I want you to be able to recognize each door, and by the end, you'll know which line you're standing in if or when the music stops. Okay, door 1, exchanges. FTX, Celsius, BlockFi. The headlines train you to look for villains in hoodies on laptops. The boring part is what comes next: paperwork, terms of service, and bankruptcy court. That is what's behind the exchange door, and here's how it works. So with the terms of service agreement, most people don't read it, and I don't blame them. You either click agree or they don't let you in. But that is part of the trick. There's no need to break into anything if once you click agree, your deposit is actually a loan. They need you to think your balance is money in an airtight vault when it is actually an IOU on an Excel spreadsheet. Now, let me walk you through 2 concepts so everything after this makes sense. Concept number 1, custody versus claim. What is it? Your wallet keys, that's custody. That's like cash in your pocket. Deposit on an exchange? Your screen shows a balance. That's usually a claim or an IOU. Concept number 2, commingling. What's it mean? It means that customer money, company money, trading desk money, all of it is put in the same pot and there is no separation. It's one giant pot of gold to them to use however they see fit. What if the company goes under? You're not opening a labeled vault. You're in the creditor line behind secured lenders who get their money first. Even if you legitimately had over $100,000 on the app, you don't get to jump ahead in the repayment line. So why do they want your deposit so badly? It's not just fees. More assets on the balance sheet means they look bigger, borrow more, and make riskier plays with other people's money. Banks legally do this right now with something called the fractional reserve clause, and crypto companies operate kind of the same way, but with a twist. And here's how it works. Customer coins get lent out, relent, and sometimes used to buy back the company's own token to prop up the token price. Celsius and FTT made these moves famous. And some exchanges don't even need your coins to fake success. They can do what's called wash trading. They match their own buy and sell orders to inflate volume artificially. Canada's CoinSquare settled with regulators after finding more than 90% of its reported volume was fake. An estimated 95% of reported Bitcoin spot volume across dozens of exchanges was completely fake volume, but looked real to everyone else for a long time. And here's the tell everyone recognizes too late on the exchanges. There's temporary maintenance or an enhanced security review required. Translation: we can't pay everyone right now because we don't actually have the money. So we're slowing the exit of all money. So let's talk about these yield products. Your bank pays you crumbs, what, like 0.01%? Boring, but actually real. BlockFi offered up to 9.5% on stablecoins and 6.2% on Bitcoin when it launched in 2019. Celsius pushed even higher on some assets, marketing like a savings account, like a crypto bank. Here's what the SEC found on BlockFi. Those weren't deposits. You were lending your crypto to BlockFi, which was operating as an unregistered securities offering. The fine print gave BlockFi the right to pledge, relend, and commingle your coins. Your passive income was an active loan to a hedge fund. So in reality, there is no 8%. Nobody's growing free money in a field behind a server rack. BlockFi's website said institutional loans were typically over-collateralized. The SEC checked the books on this, and in the first half of 2021, only about 17% of those loans actually were over-collateralized. Most of the loans weren't safely backed. Celsius said out loud in its own bankruptcy filing, it paid rewards regardless of the yield generated by Celsius. Let's read that again. The rate on the homepage wasn't a market rate, it was a marketing number. Anchor Protocol on Terra offered 20% on UST, which was another nonsense stablecoin, subsidized from Terra's treasury, not real borrower demand. When the bets failed, the pool ran dry. So where did your yield come from? The same pot of customer money being lent out, often to the same industry players taking the same risks. So what's this all mean? It means that you are the interest rate. They told you 8%. What they meant was, we'll pay you all out until we can't. And if we can't, sorry, but we're keeping your money. That's how Door 1, how exchanges legally turn your deposit into their own ammunition. Okay, that's Door 1, paperwork, custody, bankruptcy. What about Door 2, which is token launches? Smaller projects, a Discord, a chart that only goes up until the key players are ready to sell. Healthy projects talk about vesting, a schedule that says insiders can't dump everything on day one. The cliff is the waiting period, often 6 to 12 months before team or investor tokens start unlocking. It's supposed to mean we're still here. So with that in mind, red flag number 1 is there is no cliff, or a huge unlock at 20, 30, or 40% of the supply hits the market. Well, you're still reading the white paper. Red flag number 2 is team and early investors own a giant slice with a short vesting period. That's not alignment, that's a countdown to use you and everyone else's exit liquidity followed by a massive price crash. Here's the nasty part. A cliff doesn't always reduce sell pressure. It actually tends to concentrate it. Month 12 hits, team tokens unlock, investors unlock, marketing wallets unlock. Everyone who is committed suddenly has the same idea. You're not early, you're the bid. Want a documented example that's not FTX? Enter BitClout. SEC charged founder Nader Al-Naji in 2024. Now this guy raised over $257 million while he told the public there was no company behind it, it was just coins and code. Allegedly, he controlled the entire supply, spent investor money on a mansion, and used Twitter to sell the story that nobody was in charge, while running the whole thing himself under a fake name. Now, what smaller projects typically do is they just skip the vesting deck entirely. Liquidity is locked, and then it randomly isn't. The SEC charged engineer Eric Zhu in 2025 over Gamecoin. He allegedly kept liquidity provider tokens unlocked, then rug pulled the pool. That resulted in $553,000 gone. The price crashed by double digits in minutes, and he probably slept just fine that night while everyone else lost, and while he made over $500,000 in about 5 minutes. That's Door 2, how token launches turn you into the bid. Door number 3, influencers. Louder than any white paper, and honestly the one that most people might not realize. They don't need a bankruptcy court. They need a green chart, a catchphrase, and an audience that thinks not financial advice means not paid by anyone, or I actually bought this with my own money. Most of Door 3 isn't celebrities. It's micro influencers with ring lights and an undisclosed token allocation. Launch teams pay them to create urgency, so they say things like not financial advice, spam rocket emojis, and put a link to the project in their bio. Sometimes they're paid cash, sometimes it's a very discounted KOL round, which means they got tokens well before you at a price you'll never get. What you rarely get is the full picture, which is who paid, how much, and whether or not they're still holding. Here's the play in a nutshell so you don't get burned. They hype a small market cap token, retail piles in, then the people who are doing all that loud talking are well positioned, ready to dump on you. And a lot of them aren't even hiding a sponsor, they're hiding a position. They bought the token before the video is the product. They don't need to understand the tech, they need you to click buy before they click sell. Understand that when you see an influencer post about a token they seem to love, they've got that sell button already loaded, waiting to dump on you. Crypto influencer analysis isn't real analysis. It's called inventory liquidation with a personality attached. That's door 3, how influencers sell you the chart while they're loading the sell button. So what was the end result with the biggest players in the space? With FTX, customer deposits, Alameda Research, FTT collateral loop, the SEC and CFTC alleged billions commingled while the app promised segregation. Spoiler alert, there wasn't any. Celsius? Their pitch was unbank yourself. What you actually did was sign your crypto over to them. When they froze withdrawals in June 2022, a judge said about $4 billion sitting in about 600,000 earn accounts wasn't customer money anymore. It belonged to bankruptcy. You were just another creditor in a line, and their own paperwork admitted they paid interest rates even when they weren't actually making the money to cover them. With BlockFi, same yield pitch, same pool. Then $680 million in loans to Alameda Research went bad when FTX collapsed. The 8% wasn't magic, it was your money in someone else's trade. I'm not saying it's all worthless. For a lot of people, Bitcoin really is digital savings. There's only so much of it, you can hold it yourself, and no central company is printing more. Many people trust and use it because they don't trust a bank to keep their money honest. That's a fair use case. That makes sense. The scam isn't crypto exists. It's the exchange balance that's really just a promise. The token launch rigged so insiders cash out on you, and the influencer hyping a coin they're already selling. Here's what I'd look at before the next hype cycle. For exchanges, is this self-custody or a claim? Is yield a loan? And who are they lending to? Can you actually withdraw today? For tokens, I'd look at team allocation, cliff length, launch, unlock percentage, unlock calendar. This data should be verifiable on chain, not just in a slide deck. For influencers, are they paid or not? How much are they holding while they're talking? Can they actually explain the product without slogans? Have they dumped on their followers before? For volume, if an exchange looks huge on a leaderboard, ask whether or not the volume is real. Wash trading is a documented industry problem, not just some random conspiracy theory. Boring questions beat learning bankruptcy or a rug pull from the inside every time. If there's one thing I want you to take with you, it's this. Sometimes you won't get hacked. You just get structured into being last or into being someone else's liquidity. The exchange had paperwork, the token launch had a cliff, and the influencer had a huge bag. You weren't waiting on the exit, you were the exit. Subscribe if you enjoyed this video because I enjoyed making it. See you in the next one.